What happens when Hollywood's toughest action star completely loses it on daytime television? In just 23 seconds, Sylvester Stallone went from celebrated guest to being kicked off Kelly Clarkson's show in the most explosive meltdown we've ever witnessed. Subscribe now for daily videos exposing Hollywood's darkest scandals, because what you're about to hear will leave you speechless. Last night's episode of The Kelly Clarkson Show was supposed to be a celebration. Stallone was there to promote his latest project, and the audience was packed with fans, excited to see the legendary Rocky star in person. The studio was electric with anticipation. People had lined up for hours to get tickets, many wearing Rocky merchandise and holding signs declaring their love for the action icon. The energy was positive, hopeful, the kind of atmosphere that usually makes for great television. But what started as friendly conversation quickly turned into one of the most uncomfortable moments in talk show history. Kelly opened with her usual warmth, welcoming Stallone to the stage as the crowd erupted in thunderous applause. He waved with both hands, that famous Stallone smile lighting up his face as he made his way to the guest chair. He pointed to fans in the audience, threw a few playful air punches, and the crowd ate it up. Everything seemed perfect. Kelly started with softball questions, asking about his workout routine at his age, how he stays in such incredible shape. Stallone launched into a funny story about his personal trainer pushing him too hard, and the audience roared with laughter. "So, you're telling me you almost threw up during a workout at your own house?" Kelly asked, laughing along with the crowd. "Not almost," Stallone grinned. "I definitely did. But hey, that's commitment, right?" The audience applauded. Kelly moved on to family questions, asking about his daughters and how proud he must be of them. Stallone's face softened as he talked about his kids, showing that vulnerable side that audiences love. He told a touching story about teaching his youngest daughter to box, and you could see women in the audience wiping their eyes. This was going exactly as everyone expected. Classic talk show material. But then Kelly's expression changed slightly, and you could sense the shift in the air. "So Sly, I have to ask," Kelly said, leaning forward with genuine curiosity. Her voice was still friendly, but there was something more serious in her tone now. "There's been some talk online about your comments regarding younger actors in action films. Some people felt like you were being a bit harsh about the new generation. What's your take on that?" The smile on Stallone's face flickered for just a moment. You could see his shoulders tense up slightly, his posture changing from relaxed to defensive in an instant. "Kelly, I think that's been taken completely out of context," he said, his voice tightening. "What I said was that action films today rely too much on CGI and special effects rather than real physical performance. That's not being harsh, that's being honest." Kelly nodded slowly, but there was something in her eyes that suggested she wasn't going to let this go easily. "I hear you, Sly. I understand what you're saying about practical effects and real stunts. But some of those actors you mentioned have worked incredibly hard on their roles. They train for months, they build real muscle, they learn fight choreography. Don't you think it's unfair to dismiss their efforts just because the technology they use is different?" Stallone shifted in his seat, clearly not expecting Kelly to push back this hard. Most interviewers would have accepted his first answer and moved on. "I'm not dismissing anyone, Kelly," he said, his tone getting sharper. "I'm just saying, there's a difference between doing your own stunts, really putting your body on the line, and having a computer do them for you. When I made Rocky, when I made Rambo, I put my body on the line every single day. I broke bones, I got hurt, I bled, I did the work. That means something." The audience started to shift uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the fun, light-hearted interview they'd expected. Kelly maintained her professional composure, but there was an edge creeping into her voice now. "It does mean something, absolutely. No one's denying your legacy or what you accomplished. But Sly, isn't that kind of thinking a bit gatekeeping?" "Sly, I respect everything you've accomplished. Truly I do," Kelly said carefully, choosing her words. "But isn't that kind of gatekeeping? Like saying music today isn't as good because it's made on computers instead of with live instruments. Things evolve. The industry evolves. Technology changes how we make art, but it doesn't make the art less valid. Stallone leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms defensively across his chest. His jaw was set, his eyes narrowing. It's not gatekeeping when you're trying to preserve something that actually matters. Action films meant something when they were real, when they had weight to them. When audiences knew the person on screen was actually doing those stunts, actually taking those hits, actually putting themselves in danger for the shot. Now it's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. Kelly's expression shifted. Her smile was gone now. Her voice remained calm, but anyone paying attention could hear an edge to it. A warning. Fake? Sly. Some of the most successful action films of the past decade have been incredible achievements. They've broken box office records, they've won awards, they've inspired millions of people around the world. Are you really saying movies like the Marvel films, which have dominated the industry, are fake? I'm saying they're not the same, Stallone shot back, his voice rising now. Some people in the audience gasped at the sudden change in his tone. Look, I've got nothing personal against those movies, okay? But let's call it what it is. It's animation. It's video game stuff. It's people in green suits jumping in front of green screens, and then computers do all the work. It's not real cinema. It's not what we did. The audience gasped louder this time. You could hear people whispering to each other. Kelly's eyes widened in genuine surprise. She set down her note cards on the table beside her with a deliberate motion, like she was preparing for battle. Not real cinema? Sly. Come on. That's a pretty bold statement. These films employ thousands of people. Talented artists, writers, directors, actors who train for months to bring these characters to life. They tell amazing stories that resonate with audiences of all ages. How can you just dismiss all of that with a wave of your hand? Stallone actually stood up slightly in his chair now, getting more animated by the second. His face was flushed red. Because I care about the craft, Kelly. I care about what we're teaching the next generation of actors coming up in this business. You think any of these kids today could do what I did? What Arnold did? What Bruce Willis did? What Jackie Chan did? They can't, because they don't have to. Everything's handed to them on a green screen. They don't need to be tough. They don't need to be skilled. They just need to look good in spandex and let the computer do the rest. Kelly's professional mask was slipping fast now. Her voice got sharper, more pointed. That's incredibly disrespectful, Sly, and honestly beneath you. These actors train for months. They work with the best dialect coaches in the world. They build real muscle, real strength. They learn complex fight choreography that takes weeks to perfect. They do wire work that's dangerous as hell. Just because the technology has advanced and given filmmakers new tools doesn't mean these actors aren't working their asses off. Hard work? Stallone scoffed, and that scoff changed everything in the room. The temperature seemed to drop. Everyone in the audience felt it. Kelly, you have no idea what hard work in this industry actually looks like. You've never put your body through hell for a role. You stand on a stage and sing songs that other people wrote for you. You hit your marks, you smile pretty for the camera, and you go home. That's not the same as what we did. That's not the same as spending months learning how to fight, how to move, how to make every punch look real while actually getting hurt in the process. The audience went completely, utterly silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Several people's mouths literally hung open. Kelly's face flushed bright red, her whole body going rigid like she'd been slapped. She sat up ramrod, straight in her chair, her voice going ice cold in a way that made everyone in the studio uncomfortable. Excuse me? What did you just say to me? Stallone realized he'd crossed a line. You could see it flash across his face for just a second, but instead of apologizing like any reasonable person would, instead of backing down and diffusing the situation, he doubled down. He actually leaned forward in his chair, pointing his finger at Kelly like he was scolding a child. I'm just saying, you're sitting here defending something you don't understand at all. You've never been on an action film set. You've never had to do 12 takes of a fight scene where you're actually getting hit, where you're actually bleeding, where you're actually in pain. You've never broken your back doing a stunt that the director needed to get just right. You've never had to train until you literally can't move anymore. You've never had to do what we do, so maybe you should stay in your lane and stop pretending like you understand this world. Kelly's voice was steady now, controlled, but anyone with ears could hear the absolute fury underneath it, barely contained like a volcano about to erupt. Her hands gripped the armrests of her chair so tight her knuckles turned white. What I do or don't do has absolutely nothing to do with this conversation, Sly. Nothing at all. I invited you here as a guest on my show. I welcomed you with open arms. We gave you the red carpet treatment. And you just insulted not only an entire generation of talented, hard-working actors who bust their butts every single day to perfect their craft, but you also insulted me personally and what I do for a living right here on my own stage, in front of my audience, on my show. That's completely out of line, and you damn well know it. Out of line? Stallone stood up now, actually rising to his feet, his voice getting louder and more aggressive with each word. You brought this whole thing up, Kelly. This wasn't my idea. You're the one who asked me about my comments. You're the one who kept pushing and pushing and pushing with your questions. You're the one who wouldn't let it go. And now you're pissed off and acting all offended because you don't like my honest answer? Give me a break. This is complete bullshit, and you know it. You wanted controversy for your show? Well, congratulations, you got it. Kelly stood up too, rising from her chair with such force that it rolled back slightly. She was matching his energy now, stepping toward him, refusing to be intimidated. No, Sly. What's actual bullshit is you coming on my show, accepting my hospitality, sitting in that chair, and then disrespecting everyone around you just because you think your way, your era, your methods are the only ones that matter. You know what I think? I think the real reason you're so defensive about this whole thing, the real reason you can't let this go, is because you're scared. You're terrified, actually. The audience audibly gasped, a collective intake of breath that echoed through the studio. Some people covered their mouths with their hands. Others grabbed their neighbor's arm. Stallone's face turned dark red, almost purple, veins visible and pulsing on his neck and forehead. What the hell did you just say to me? What did you just have the nerve to say? You heard me perfectly clear, Sly, Kelly said, her voice unwavering, strong, standing her ground without flinching. You're lashing out at younger actors, attacking them publicly, diminishing their work, because they're doing things differently than you did, and that scares the absolute hell out of you. They're succeeding, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars, they're connecting with massive audiences all over the world, and they're doing it without following your blueprint. They're doing it their own way. And you can't handle it. You can't handle that the world moved on without asking for your permission or your approval. Stallone pointed right at Kelly's face, his finger shaking with pure rage, getting closer to her personal space. You have no goddamn right to psychoanalyze me. You have no right to talk to me like that. Do you know who the hell I am? Do you have any idea what I've accomplished in this business? Do you understand how many decades I've been doing this? I've been making movies, real movies, since before you were even born, little girl. I know exactly who you are, Sly. Kelly fired back, not backing down even an inch, meeting his energy with her own. I know your whole career. I know your accomplishments. I respect what you built. But right now, in this moment, standing on my stage, you're not acting like a legend. You're acting like a bitter, angry old man who can't accept that the world has changed and moved forward and left him behind. That's what I'm seeing right now. That's what everyone watching is seeing. Stallone's voice absolutely exploded through the studio, echoing off the walls. Bitter? Are you out of your mind right now? I built this entire industry. I created characters that will live forever, that have inspired generations. Rocky, Rambo, these aren't just movies, these are cultural icons. These are characters that mean something to people. What have you done except stand there and sing other people's songs? You're a glorified karaoke singer with a TV show. You got famous on a talent competition. The production staff was moving now, several of them approaching from different angles, sensing this situation was completely out of control and spiraling fast. Kelly's voice was sharp, cutting, and absolutely furious. The professional host was gone, replaced by someone who'd been pushed way too far. Get off my stage, Sly. Right now. I mean it. This interview is over. We're done here. Oh, I'm leaving all right, Stallone snarled, his face contorted with anger. Gladly. I don't need this crap. I don't need to sit here and be lectured and insulted by someone who doesn't understand what real work looks like, what real sacrifice means. You have no idea what it takes to be a real actor. Then leave, Kelly shouted back, her composure completely shattered now, her voice raw with emotion. Leave my show right now and don't you ever come back. You're not welcome here anymore. Not after this. Not after how you've acted. Stallone ripped off his lapel microphone with such force that it made a horrible screeching sound through the studio speakers, making everyone in the audience wince and cover their ears. He threw it on the ground. This show is a joke anyway. Your whole career is a joke. You're a joke, Kelly. Kelly stepped forward aggressively, her voice shaking with rage, with adrenaline, with pure anger. Security, I want him out of here now, right now. Get him off my stage. 2 security guards appeared from the wings, big guys in dark suits, moving quickly and purposefully toward Stallone. Their faces were serious, professional. They'd clearly been called in and briefed. The legendary actor looked at Kelly one more time, and his face was twisted with so much anger that several people in the front row actually leaned back in their seats. You just made the biggest mistake of your entire career, sweetheart. The biggest mistake. You have no idea who you're messing with. No, Sly, Kelly said, her voice cold as absolute ice. Her eyes locked on his. You did. You made the mistake. You made it the second you walked on this stage and thought you could treat people like garbage, thought you could insult everyone around you and face no consequences. Now get the hell out of my studio before I have these men physically remove you. The security guards positioned themselves on either side of Stallone now, not touching him, but making their presence very clear, their hands ready to grab him if needed. One of them spoke quietly. Sir, we need you to come with us. Now please. Stallone looked at the guards, then back at Kelly with pure hatred in his eyes, then at the silent, shocked audience. Hundreds of faces staring at him in complete disbelief. Fans who'd waited hours to see him, who'd loved Rocky and Rambo their whole lives, now watching their hero act like a complete jerk. For a long moment, it seemed like he might say something else, might try to salvage the situation, might apologize, but instead, he let out a bitter laugh and turned on his heel toward the exit. As he stormed off stage, walking fast with heavy, angry footsteps, he suddenly kicked over a small table near the exit that held water bottles for the crew. It went flying, bottles clattering and rolling across the floor in every direction, water spilling everywhere. The audience flinched collectively, some people actually gasping or crying out. A few bottles rolled all the way to the front of the stage. One of the security guards grabbed Stallone's arm then, firmly but professionally. That's enough, sir. Let's go. Kelly stood center stage, her chest heaving as she breathed hard, her face still flushed, watching him disappear into the wings flanked by security. You could hear him still yelling backstage. Get your hands off me! I know the way out! Then the heavy sound of a door slamming so hard it shook, echoing through the entire studio. Then another door. Then finally, silence. Kelly turned slowly to face her audience, her hands trembling visibly now that the adrenaline was wearing off. She took a long, deep breath, trying desperately to regain some composure. Her eyes were glassy like she might cry, but she held it together. The crowd didn't know what to do. Should they applaud? Should they stay silent? Should they comfort her? Some people had both hands over their mouths in complete shock. Others were looking at each other with wide eyes, whispering urgently. A few people were already pulling out their phones, probably texting friends about what they'd just witnessed. This wasn't what anyone had signed up for today. "Well," Kelly finally said, her voice still shaky and raw, trying to inject some lightness into a situation that had been absolutely devastating. That was unexpected. That's probably the understatement of the year, right?" A few nervous, uncomfortable laughs rippled through the audience, but the tension was still incredibly thick in the air, like you could cut it with a knife. Nobody knew if it was okay to laugh yet. Kelly ran her hand through her hair, tucking it behind her ear, clearly trying to process in real time what had just happened on her own show. The cameras were still rolling, still capturing every moment of the aftermath, every emotion playing across her face. Her producers were probably having heart attacks in the control room. "I want to apologize that you all had to witness that," Kelly continued, her voice getting stronger as she spoke, as she found her footing again. She walked closer to the audience, making direct eye contact with people in the front rows. "This is my show. I've worked hard to build this show into something positive, something uplifting. And I have certain standards, certain expectations for how guests treat people here. When someone comes onto my stage and shows that level of disrespect, not just to me personally, but to an entire generation of incredibly talented artists who work their butts off every day, I'm not going to sit there quietly and take it. I'm not going to smile and nod and pretend it's okay. It's not okay." Some applause started then, tentative and scattered at first, then growing much stronger and more confident. People started standing up. The applause turned into cheers. Kelly nodded, acknowledging the support but still visibly shaken by the confrontation, her hands still trembling slightly at her sides. "We're going to take a quick break," she said to the cameras, her voice still not quite steady. "When we come back, we'll try to get this show back on track. We've still got some amazing segments planned for you guys." The stage lights dimmed slightly as they cut to commercial. The second the red recording light went off, Kelly's professional mask completely crumbled. She immediately walked, almost ran, to the side of the stage where her producers were waiting in a cluster, all of them talking over each other. You could see them having an intense, urgent conversation, Kelly's hands gesturing wildly as she recounted details, as she vented, as she tried to make sense of what had just exploded in her face. Her makeup person rushed over with tissues and touch-up powder. Some crew members were down on their hands and knees cleaning up the water bottles and broken table pieces Stallone had knocked over. Others were standing around in small groups all over the studio, talking in hushed but animated voices about the insane confrontation they'd just witnessed firsthand. This would be the story they told for the rest of their careers. In the wings of the stage, back where the audience couldn't quite see, you could still hear raised, angry voices. Stallone was apparently not leaving the building quietly or peacefully. "This is absolutely ridiculous." His voice carried through the backstage area, echoing off the concrete walls. "I'm not the one who started this whole thing. She's the one who asked the damn questions. She brought it up. She kept pushing me. This is entrapment. This is a setup." A producer's voice, much calmer and lower and trying to be diplomatic, tried to respond, but was immediately cut off by Stallone again, before he could get 3 words out. No, don't give me that. You don't understand the situation. I came here in good faith to promote my project, and I got ambushed by that woman. This is completely unprofessional. This is Bush League. I've been in this business for 40 years, and I've never been treated like this." One of the security guards said something in a low voice that the audience couldn't make out. Stallone's response was loud and clear, though. "I don't give a damn about your protocols. I want to talk to her manager. I want to talk to the network. This isn't over." The door to the studio slammed again, even harder this time, the sound reverberating through the whole building. People in the audience actually jumped at the sound. Then there was blessed silence. Sylvester Stallone was finally gone from the building, leaving behind one of the most shocking, most explosive, most unbelievable talk show moments in recent television history. The audience sat in stunned silence, still processing everything they'd just witnessed. This wasn't a scripted bit designed to go viral. This wasn't a promotional stunt for a movie. This was real anger, real conflict, real emotions, and a real Hollywood legend being physically escorted off stage by security after a confrontation that went from friendly and warm to absolutely nuclear in just a few devastating minutes. Kelly returned to her spot at center stage, checking her makeup in a compact mirror that someone from the crew handed her. She blotted under her eyes carefully. She took another long, deep breath, filling her lungs completely, then exhaling slowly. She squared her shoulders, lifted her chin, and waited for the cameras to start rolling again. The show had to go on. That's what professionals do. But this moment, this explosive, shocking, unbelievable moment, would be talked about for years to come. This would trend worldwide within hours. This would be analyzed and debated and replayed endlessly. The moment Sylvester Stallone got kicked off Kelly Clarkson's show, leaving destruction and shock and broken furniture in his wake as he stormed out of the studio, still screaming about being ambushed, leaving behind an audience that would never forget what they'd witnessed.